movie Casablanca made considerable impacts on romance and fashion that are seen even today. Joining us is Hal Rubenstein to tell us more about how this movie ended up in his latest book, The Looks of Love, 50 Moments in Fashion That Inspired Romance. Hal, welcome to Ultimate Report.
Hi. Hi.
It's always great to have you join us.
Thank you so much.
So what inspired the inclusion of the finale of Casablanca in your new book?
Yeah, it's funny. The generations today now don't have a great sense of looking back. So they may not, and certainly they tend not to look at movies that are black and white. But growing up my era, Casablanca was always, it tops the list of so many lists of favorite movie of all time, the favorite romance of all time, starring two of Hollywood's greatest stars, Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart. It is the ultimate romance. And it is the ultimate romance because it's about that love that cannot be. You know, it's about a love that comes from the past, of all the gin joints in the world, how she comes into mind. Bogart, who's the tough guy with the heart of gold. You know, Bergman, who's the incredible great beauty, of course, being married to somebody else in order to save her life, save her soul. In Casablanca, in the middle of Casablanca in World War II, way too complicated for anybody to really want to, who doesn't know the movie right now, to really want to understand, because they just won't get it. You just got to watch this. But it's about intrigue and spies and collars turned up and fog. Fog is just great mystery, and it's also about the trench coat.
Yes.
The trench coat. And it's funny. Here's this piece of clothing that was devised, really, it's called a trench coat for a reason. It was going to be worn in the trenches during World War I. It was, basically created by two companies for the British soldiers, both Burberry and Actors Skudum. And in fact, after the First World War, they had so many left over, they distributed them basically to the population of Britain for free. So it really was, it was just a utilitarian coat. Then Hollywood decided it was going to be the coat for tough guys. You know, Cagney, for those of you who don't know, James Cagney wore a trench coat. George Raft wore a trench coat. You can Google all these people, my youngins. George Raft wore a trench coat. All that, basically, Edward G. Robinson wore a trench coat. If you were a gangster, if you were playing Al Capone, like I said, look up all these names. I'm not going to help you. You wore a trench coat. But Bogart was this unique kind of movie star because he had that tough guy sort of pushed in face, but there was something world weary about that look, that hangdog look, that also made him into a matinee idol. And Casablanca became this incredibly romantic film, and he wears a trench coat throughout most of the movie. Remember, the movie's shot in black and white, and then the very climatic scene at the end of the film where he sends Elsa, who is Ingrid Bergman, off, and there's a, what does it matter? Oh, I gotta read it. I can't remember. It doesn't take much to see that the problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. I mean, what more romantic line can you have than that? And he sends her off to safety, away from Casablanca on the plane. And it's at the airport and it's fog, and she has a hat with a great brim, and I don't know if you can see the brim, the hat with the great brim. Yeah. Okay. And he has a hat with a great brim. And if you look at this shot exactly as it is, of course, they're both wearing trench coats.
Yes, they sure are.
Except they're not. Ingrid's wearing a suit.
No way.
She's wearing a beige suit that looks like the same trench coat because it's the same.
It does, but
the same color in the hat. In fact, Ingrid Bergman never, ever, ever wears a trench coat in Casablanca. I have watched every frame of this movie, start front to back, top to bottom, 4 or 5 times. Marlene Dietrich wears trench coats in movie. Greta Garbo, of course, was known for wearing trench coats. Audrey Hepburn wears a trench coat in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Cary Grant wears one in Charades. Sophia Loren wears one. Catherine Deneuve wears one in The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Steve McQueen wears one in Bullet. Cary Grant wears one in Charade. Ingrid never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever, never wears one.
Well, why do you think they didn't? Why do you think the director and the stylist or the wardrobe stylist did that?
I don't think, remember, I don't think anybody was looking to make a trench coat into a symbol of intrigue and romance. It just, no, you know, it's a little movie. Nobody expected this thing to be nominated for 8 Academy Awards and win 3 of them. They were great. They were great stars, but it was a war film. Nobody ever knows what's going to be a hit. But in that shot, again, it just shows you and very often reality is truth. Excuse me, illusion is truth. It looks like Ingrid's wearing one.
It does. It really and truly does. I'm looking at it now.
Consequently, right, trench coats took on, look at it. They look like they're wearing the same thing. Trench coats,
sure does.
And sort of trench coats took on that mystique of basically being that kind of sexy garment that all-purpose garment that also just has an air of mystery about it. And frankly, I think it still does. I think it still does. And I mean, Burberry still works it. I mean, you even look at their Christmas ad, this year when they use David Beckham's kids and dancing around, or the year before where Rosie Huntington Riley is just wearing nothing but a trench coat. Trench coats are sexy. They are sexy. They're sexy because they fit everybody. They're sexy because they look good on everyone. They're sexy because they're utilitarian but smart and fit the body. They're sexy because they work 12 months out of the year. They're sexy because they have belts and they wrap and they hide things. But it's interesting that the film that propelled it most basically has a lie in it, in the sense that Ingrid never wears one.
Ingrid never wears one. And here it is.
Brown beige suit.
There you go. So aside from the trench coat and the wide-brimmed hat, what other garments became popular after the movie?
Well, no, I mean, I'd say, she also has, there's an incredible sort of like low slung draped crepe gown that she wears in which was something that was very emblematic. Joan Crawford wore one, Myrna Loy wore dresses like this. Betty Davis even wears these in Now Voyager. So that idea, that kind of sort of soigné look of clothes that really drape against the body. And the funny thing is, if you look at clothes from this era, take away a couple of shoulder pads and almost all of these clothes would work today. Nothing really is new under the sun. Things are reshaped, things are restyled, but that whole era of Hollywood glamour, I think, is so enduring simply because people did look beautiful. The goal was, these days we go for reality in a film. If someone's supposed to look terrible, they really look terrible.
Yeah.
They really look terrible. That's true. But back, and I'd say up until, but back in the 40s, nobody really looked that awful. You're movie stars. And this carries over. I mean, you look at, like, the book opens with Love Story. Ali MacGraw on her deathbed looks better than most people on their best day.
Yeah, she really did.
She dies of movie star disease in Love Story. I mean, she looks so glorious. But I think that is the magic, and that is the fun of movies. You really don't. Yes, today, because we have this desire for reality, okay, some of us swab it, but most people, you really don't want to see that much ugliness. And back then, what it was to be a star during the Hollywood system was that you looked beautiful always. Remember, the Hollywood system, they controlled, for better or for worse, they controlled your life on camera and off camera. Nowadays, there's TMZ, and there's paparazzi, and there's tabloids, and there's iPhones, and we can catch everybody looking awful every minute of the day. And God help you if you're a celebrity and you go to Target. We're going to find you.
Yeah.
Back then, nobody saw these shots. You didn't see this kind of stuff. So everything that you saw, that you now see magazine, stars are people too. No, they weren't. They were stars. Whenever, if you saw a shot of Debbie Reynolds going to the supermarket, or Greta Garbo going to dinner, she looked amazing. Mm-hmm. Okay, you weren't going to see a shot of her going to In-N-Out Burger. She was going to look incredible all the time.
Yep, absolutely. So Hal, where can we purchase our own copy of The Looks of Love, 50 Moments in Fashion That Inspired Romance?
Amazon.com, HSN.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RuleOfLaw.com. I think starting in a couple weeks. Your local bookstore, if they don't have it on the shelf, you can snigger and snare at them, and then you can tell them to go order it online for you.
There you go.
Yeah.
And where can we catch up with Hal Rubenstein online?
Oh my gosh, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at Hal2R. You can find me on Instagram at Hal Rubenstein. You can find me on Gabriel New York blogging. You can find me in the Ultimate Report, where I have the pleasure of talking to you once a month. We'll be on Rule of Law shortly. I think we're going to be on New Potato very soon too. Not yet, but very soon. Or where HalRubenstein.com is just about to launch. We're taking baby steps, but we're getting there.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Hal, it's always good to visit with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
You bet.
All right. Catch up with me on my blog, www.beautybeautereport.com, on Twitter at BeautyPublicist, and of course on YouTube, Ultimate Report. Everyone, thanks so much for joining us on Ultimate Report. Have a beautiful, successful week. Mwah.